I stared at my phone screen for 10 minutes today, just hovering my thumb over the banking app icon. My heart was actually racing. It sounds ridiculous, right? Being scared of an app? But I knew what was inside. Or at least I knew I didn't want to know what was inside. Ignoring my spending has been my survival mechanism for months. But this week, I decided to stop running. This is my real-time journey, not expert advice. Here is exactly what happened. Honestly, I've been living in what I call ostrich mode. You know the vibe? If I don't look at the bank balance, the debt isn't real. That's been my logic for so long. But the background stress was eating me alive. I tapped my card at the grocery store and just pray it wouldn't decline, feeling that knot in my stomach every single time. So I made a pact with myself. No changing my spending habits yet. No strict budgeting restrictions. Just tracking. Just looking. I opened a blank spreadsheet on Monday morning. It felt like staring into an abyss. I kept it simple. I labeled the columns: date, item, cost, and feeling. Yes, I added a feeling column because let's be real, money is emotional for me. Day one started and the resistance was immediate. I bought a coffee on the way to work. $5.50, I wrote it down. Then I bought a sandwich for lunch because I was too disorganized to pack anything. $14 to $25, I wrote it down. By the evening, I had to log a subscription renewal I totally forgot about. $12.99 for a streaming service I haven't watched in 3 weeks. Writing that number down physically hurt. It wasn't just about the $13, it was the proof of my own carelessness. I felt stupid. I wanted to close the laptop and go back to ignoring it. It felt like I was grading a test I knew I had already failed, but I forced myself to keep the tab open. I told myself, you don't have to fix it today, you just have to see it. That was the hardest part, separating the observation from the judgment. I wanted to beat myself up, to spiral into that I'm bad with money narrative, but the goal was just data. Pure, ugly, raw data. I had to survive 6 more days of this. By Tuesday and Wednesday, the sheer terror of opening the spreadsheet started to fade, replaced by something way more annoying. The irritation of constantly realizing how often I pull out my wallet. I always told myself, I'm not a big spender. I don't buy designer clothes. I drive an old car. I'm frugal. But the data started to paint a completely different picture. It turns out I'm not frugal. I'm just leaking money in small, invisible drips that I never bothered to catch before. The biggest wake-up call came on Thursday afternoon. I was hitting that 3 p.m. slump at work. You know the one where your brain just shuts off. And my automatic reaction, like a robot, was to go downstairs to the convenience store. A bag of chips here, an energy drink there, maybe a protein bar because I convinced myself it was healthy. In the moment, spending $3.30 or $4.25 feels like spending $0. It's pocket change, right? It doesn't register as a financial decision. It registers as a survival mechanism. But because I had promised myself I would track everything, I had to log every single transaction. By Friday evening, I filtered my spreadsheet by the category Snacks Convenience. I actually gasped. $42 in 5 days. I spent 42 American dollars on processed sugar and caffeine that I barely even enjoyed. I stared at that number on the screen. $42 is my internet bill. $42 is a decent amount of groceries if I shop smart. But instead, I had literally eaten it, $4 at a time, mostly out of boredom or tiredness. And looking at that feeling column I added, it was eye-opening. Next to almost every snack purchase, I hadn't written hungry. I had written bored, stressed, or procrastinating. I wasn't buying food, I was buying a 5-minute break from my desk. That was a hard truth to swallow. I was using my debit card to regulate my emotions, and it was costing me nearly $200 a month if I kept this pace up. Then the weekend hit. Saturdays are usually my danger zone because my guard is down. I went out for dinner with friends, and usually this is where I'd just tap the card and deal with the guilt on Monday. But knowing I had to go home and type 60 to 40 into a cell made me pause. I I still went to dinner and I still had fun, but I ordered water instead of a second cocktail. I skipped the appetizer. I realized that the simple act of observing the money was acting like a speed bump. It created this tiny moment of friction between the impulse and the action. Sunday brought the final kick in the gut. While reconciling my account, I found another recurring charge, a PDF editor tool I signed up for a free trial of 4 months ago. It's been charging me $9.99 a month. That's $40 gone. Vaporized. I don't even have that software installed on my laptop anymore. Seeing that transaction sitting there sandwiched between a gas station fill-up and a grocery run made me feel so disorganized. I summed up the total for the week on Sunday night. The number was higher than my income for the week. Not by a lot, maybe $50, but I was in the red. I had spent more than I made, and I hadn't bought a single big thing. No new TV, no flight tickets, no fancy shoes. Just life, snacks, and forgotten subscriptions. It was a slow bleed. Seeing it all laid out in black and white and red was uncomfortable. It stripped away the story I tell myself about being good with money and showed me the reality of my habits. I wasn't a victim of the economy this week. I was a victim of my own lack of attention. But strangely, once the shock wore off, I didn't feel the panic I felt on Monday. The monster wasn't in the shadows anymore. It was right there in the spreadsheet. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could actually fight it. So, what is the actual 1% lesson here? It sounds strange to call a week where I overspent a win, but here is the truth. You cannot optimize a system that is invisible. For months, I was trying to fix my finances while wearing a blindfold. I was stressing about the big picture. Get out of debt! But ignoring the $42 in snacks and the $10 ghost subscriptions that were actually dragging me down. The atomic finance principle I'm taking away from this is that awareness is the first action. In James Clear's terms, I was lacking the feedback loop. I was acting without seeing the result. By simply writing the numbers down, I turned the lights on in a dark room. It wasn't pretty. There was a lot of mess in that room, but for the first time, I wasn't tripping over the furniture. I realized that I don't need to fix everything overnight. I don't need to cut my spending to zero tomorrow. That's the crash diet approach, and it always fails. My 1% improvement isn't to stop eating, it's just to pause. Before I walk to the vending machine and ask, am I hungry or am I just bored? If I can cut that $42 down to $30 next week, that's a win. That's progress. I know I'm not the only one with these ghost expenses. We all have them. Those subscriptions we signed up for during a free trial and forgot, or those daily habits that feel free in the moment but add up to a car payment by the end of the month. It's scary to look, but looking is the only way to stop the bleeding. My 1% mission for tomorrow is just to cancel that useless PDF editor subscription. That's it. That saves me $10 a month immediately. What is your 1% step? Will you open your banking app and just look for one recurring charge you don't use? Let's find those leaks together. Let me know what you find in the comments below. I am not a financial expert or advisor. This content is for documenting my personal journey and for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research before making any financial decisions.